Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cup of Joe Show. I'm your host, of course, Joe. And today I am very, very excited to have a very good friend of mine, someone who has been there since the beginning of my recovery. And I have a lot of good memories with her. This is Linda Kay. Linda Kay has been sober since July 9th, 1990, and recently celebrated an amazing 35 years in recovery. At 76, Linda brings not only the wisdom of time, but also the heart of a true servant. A mother, stepmother, grandmother of 6, and at one point the caregiver to 10 children who weren't even her own, Linda's life has been rich in family, love, and resilience. For 30 years, she inspired students as a high school English and drama teacher, and she even served her community as an elected city councilwoman. I hope she tells us a story. Linda actually got 300,000 votes at one time in her life, which is pretty remarkable. As she'll tell you, her truest identity is found in the pages of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, where her story as an alcoholic is laid out plain and clear. Now living in Columbus, Ohio, with her faithful dog, Mr. Dobbins, by her side, Linda continues to stay active in meetings, carry the message that saved her life, and she may have spent 20 wonderful years in Knoxville, Tennessee, but make no mistake, she is a proud Buckeye through and through, and she's ready to see the Ohio State University take another national championship. I'm going to say no to that as a Tennessee Vol, but you'll get over that anyway. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Hello, Linda. How are you doing today?
Hey, Jojo. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to share your story. This is really pretty awesome for me, very special. And, I just adore you.
I adore you too.
Well, thank you. So tell me, what was it like growing up, Linda?
Well, thinking back on it, it was actually pretty fun. I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, which is a lot different than today, because you could run the streets and nobody would kidnap you or shoot you or, there was a lot of woods to explore, and parents just let us run because there was no danger other than what we did to ourselves, adventure wise. But my family was in Columbus, Ohio. That's where I was born and raised. And my dad's side of the family are Irish, very Irish and very much whiskey drinkers, and all the alcoholics, but we didn't know what an alcoholic, nobody ever said the word alcoholic. We had characters, a lot of characters on the Irish side of the family. And then my mother was German, and her family were very church-going people. My grandfather studied at a seminary and was going to become a minister. So I had one grandpa that was going to be a minister, and the other grandpa that I was scared to death of because he'd go into these whiskey rages. So I was like the split personality right from the very beginning. I liked both things that I did. I had to go to church every time the doors were open because my mother was definitely a churchgoer. And back then, churches were like none of this easygoing stuff that they got nowadays. I mean, the sermon lasted 2 hours, and you went early in the morning for Sunday school, and then church, and then afterwards fellowship, and so you were pretty much there for a long period of time on Sundays. But it was okay because no stores were open. There was something called the Blue Laws, and Sunday was a family day. We weren't allowed to see our friends. We Well, I had one sister that's younger than me, but then I had three cousins on my dad's side and three cousins on my mom's side, and they all knew each other. Both sides of the family, we'd have these reunions. So my six cousins, I grew up knowing them, and I was the oldest and still am. And I'm now the matriarch of our family because all the parents and aunts and uncles, everybody's dead. So I'm the oldest person in the family. And so they all look
Wow.
to me for, we go out to eat once a month. It's going to be tomorrow, is the cousin day, where all the cousins on both sides of my family bring their spouses and we all meet at a restaurant and have like once a month we go out to eat. So my cousins still look up to me, and at one point, my grandparents told me that I was a very bad influence on my cousins. So they used that as a stick against me to beat me with, like, we can't let you do this to your cousins and get them off the track into a world of ill repute, so anyway, we my dad, I don't want to call him an alcoholic, but I recognize him in the big book. He was a problem drinker. He was a binge drinker. When he drank, he would drink too much and get goofy, and he was a happy drunk. And we kind of liked him drunk because he did let us do wild things that my mother definitely didn't approve of. Like he'd get us up in the middle of the night and say, "Let's go sledding," on a school night, and my mother would have fits. And he took us out in a rowboat and made us help him go fishing, and I got second-degree burns on the top of my scalp. And my mother was just like, she didn't know what to do with my dad. Eventually, he went over the line a little too much, and she left him. And she didn't get far. She just went to my grandma's house, her mom's house. But I've never seen a man so distraught. And so the one night that she left, he let us miss school the next day. We stayed up all night, and he taught us how to play poker. And he kept begging us not to fall asleep and to stay awake with him. And when she came back, he quit drinking. He went to church. Every time she said jump, he'd say how high. And so from then on through the rest of his life, he was a teetotaler. Well, when they got up in there, they were married 73 years, and we lived in the same house. They lived in the same house 73 years. And so uh, when they got up in their older age, they would split a beer. They would open a can of beer and pour it into juice glasses. And so anyway, they didn't like talking about. I mean, it still was a bad and shameful thing to be an alcoholic. So they never, even after I got into AA, my mother would say, we were going to have a family reunion. She'd say, "Just don't talk about your A in front of Aunt Marguerite, okay?" And so I had to respect the fact that they didn't. They wanted me pretty anonymous. But anyway, my first drink was well, actually, my first drink was probably a drink of theirs because they were in a band. My mom played piano, my dad played guitar, and they were in a big band that had gigs every Friday night. And so we'd have the band practices at our house, and there was beer used to come in wood crates with wood slats, and there'd be a glass bottle in between every wood slat, and we'd keep it in the garage to keep it cold. And so they would tell me, go get, 6 more beers for the band guys. So I'd have to run out and get the beer out of the garage. And me and my sister, I think she took, she's so straight. I don't know if she ever took a drink in her life, but anyway, I did. But I didn't like the taste of it. It was nasty. And then when they had parties, they'd drink Manhattan, something called Manhattan. It tasted nasty. And they had little shakers and they had all the paraphernalia that goes along with being a cool cocktail drinker, but I wasn't going to be like that. I hated the taste of all that stuff. And I never had an effect of alcohol.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you remember the first time you felt the effects of alcohol?
Oh, yes. There was some people that moved in next door, and their name was the Van Winkles, and they were like Danish or German or some. Well, anyway, they had teenagers, and the teenagers had a wild party one New Year's Eve, and my parents had a gig, and so they were gone, and they left me to babysit my little sister. And so I ran next door, and I wanted to hang with the big dogs, run with the teenagers. And they had an open bar with all kinds of bottles. And I don't know. I don't know. It might have been Southern Comfort. It was a bottle with a horse on it. I chose it because it had a horse. I was about 12 years old, I think. And I drank it, and I was laughing over, I don't know what. I went into this laughing. Then I started getting dizzy. Then I knew I was going to throw up. And I got away from the party and halfway in between my house and theirs and threw up all over the place, all over the driveway and the yard. And then I got into the house, and my sister didn't know what was the matter with me. She was only like 8 years old, and I threw up all over the kitchen, and then I don't remember anything else. So I got silly, I got dizzy, I threw up, and I passed out, and I didn't remember what happened. So that's pretty much for the next 26 years. If I'm telling you in a general way what my drinking was like, it never changed. I would always I was known as a throw up drinker. I was known as a blackout drinker. But the funny thing is that Facebook, just last week, I saw a name that liked one of my comments on Facebook, and it was a Van Winkle. And so I said, "Are you the Van Winkle that lived next to, me?" And she goes, "Oh my, little Linda, is that you?" And the woman is like 90 now, and I'm like 76, but we reconnected on Facebook. It's a small world, but yeah, I used to. I don't know whether I liked the effect or the idea that I was running with the teenagers or the idea that I was doing something illegal. All those things are very attractive to me, getting away with something, doing something that's my own and my parents don't know about it. And, it's my special thing. And the teenagers like me, so I must be cool. So that probably, all those things probably attracted me to alcohol. But I didn't know anything about alcohol or alcoholics or uh, anything. And so I didn't even realize that every time I did drink from then on in, I would overshoot the mark every time. There was never a time when I didn't do something stupid. I drank too much and I'd either throw up. I learned to control my throwing up. Um, when I started seeing two of things and three of things, I would go to the restroom and throw up and repair myself and come back and say, who's buying the next round? And I liked the idea that I was macho. And they'd even say, look at that little girl drink, or, and I had a fake ID in high school. It was easy to do back in the old days. You just type on a little piece of paper and that's your driver's license. You would go to the driver bureau and they would type out a little paper and give it to you, put it in plastic. So I had a fake ID, which I used down on the Ohio State campus, which at one time used to be the biggest drinking establishment in America. There was more bars per square inch of sidewalk at Ohio State University than anywhere in America. So there was bars on top of bars. So you'd start at one end of the strip and start walking you'd never make it to the other end. But when I came to Knoxville and they said a strip, go down on the strip, I was like, this ain't no strip. This is like 4 bars. But anyway, so my drinking progressed and I would say that I was a binge drinker by age 16. I like to get out of the house. Girls had slumber parties. We would go to these girls' slumber parties and we would drink. And I got a job. I always worked. One thing that my parents really, there was no such thing as not working. And so they got me jobs. Like when I was 15, my mother arranged for me to take care of a man whose wife had died. I had to go early in the morning, get him and his kids breakfast, walk the kids to school, walk them back home from school, fix their dinner, and babysit them at night when the man went away. So I didn't want to do that. And then I worked all different kind of jobs in the summer times. So I had money and I could meet new people and have new drinking experiences. But I knew that to please the good side of the family, my mother was a school type person, and I always wanted to be a school teacher. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a school teacher, and because I liked school and the teachers were nice to me, and I just adored my teachers, and I was always a teacher pet, and I got straight A's. But the straight A's were like to please. I wanted to please my parents. I wanted them to be proud of me. And at the same time, I didn't want them to tell me what to do. So it was kind of a weird thing that I knew that sneaking around and doing the stuff I was doing would hurt them terribly if I got caught. But I was pretty good and I didn't get caught. And, even the people that I got as friends in high school and my early teaching days, they said, well, we knew you drank, but we didn't know that you were a real bad alcoholic, because I was what I thought was called a functioning alcoholic. I never lost a job. I had a lot of good enablers, a lot of people that stood up for me and lied for me And when I did my amends, I had to use my amends for some of those people. I really pulled them into my wayward life and handicapped their life by making them lie for me. And I own an amends for that, you know. And yet they didn't think that I was that bad of a person.
Yeah.
You know, they were willing to help me as much as I wanted to. And then during my life, some of the things in life, I had one bad marriage after another, and so um, I chose the same guy in different bodies 3 times. The first one was a chess player and a genius IQ, and he had to. It was back during Vietnam, and I think I married him. He wanted to run away to Canada, and I think I married him to get him a exemption from the draft, but it didn't work. He ended up having to go to the service anyway. And the second guy I married was a biker, and that was pretty different. The first guy had real short hair and was tall and skinny, and the second guy was uh, a long-haired biker. And the third guy was a jock that had been a state wrestling champ and had, he was a blue-eyed, Paul Newman looking, good-looking ladies' man. And so those 3 guys were all drinkers and druggers, and I went right along with the game. I've looked back and I've thought maybe one of the reasons I married them was because they did it more than I did, and I could look like the victim and not have anybody look at my drinking because they always they were more visible in getting in trouble with the law and losing jobs, and so poor Linda, you know I had my dad buffaloed. My dad said, well, poor Linda, you'd drink if you had her kind of life. She's had some bad luck. I was always having bad luck. It's funny, I haven't had that much bad luck about losing jobs when I got sober, or getting caught. I didn't have to worry about getting caught. As a matter of fact, when I got my first year in AA, I got some running buddies, and there was a roadblock on a Memorial Day, and they were checking every third car to see who was drunk on the road. It was like and we weren't the third car, but we pulled over and said, check us. We're not drunk. We haven't had a thing to drink all day. The cop thought we were nuts. Oh dear. But anyway, so I never went to a treatment center. I never went to jail. But that doesn't mean my fourth husband that I married, who was the love of my life and probably a better person than I'll ever be. Um, he he was big on honesty, and he loved AA. We met in AA, and he he didn't he didn't want me lying, or as a matter of fact, I have what he called a character defect. I embellish. I call it embellishing. Like, you know, instead of saying, there was a comedian once that I liked that said, yeah, I was a secretary in the White House. Well, actually, I was the head aide to the president. Well, actually, I was the vice president at one time. Well, actually, I ran for president and almost made it. I mean, that's me. I embellish. And
Yeah.
my husband, Mike, he would say, Linda, don't lie. And I would say, I'm not lying, I'm embellishing. But before I ever took a drink, I was a liar. To get out of trouble, I could look you dead in the eye and say, no, I didn't do it. What are you talking about? How dare you accuse me? So, but so there's a joke in AA. It says, what do you call a drunken, cheating, horse thief, lion, a drunken, cheating, lion, horse thief if he quits drinking? You'd still call him a cheating, lion, horse thief. He just doesn't drink, but he's still a liar. And I had to find that out, that being sober was more than just not drinking.
So what was the turning point for you, Linda? What got you into recovery?
Well, this husband I was just telling you about, he had many, many DUIs and jail time before he got sober, and a couple treatment centers. I argued with him that my pain is no less than his pain was. The shame and the guilt I felt, the absolute destitute, I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to live. I was so ashamed of myself and so scared that people would find out. And it was just a miserable way to live. So my solution was, I will go to Ohio State and take a course on alcohol and drug education, and they will give me an answer of how to solve this problem of mine of drinking too much. And also, I needed coursework because they make teachers go to school and up your education. And the easiest course without a research paper or a test was alcohol and drug education. So I said, I can do this. And so what you had to do was you had to check in to a treatment center for a weekend on a Friday morning and pretend you were a patient and stay there and go through all their little busy work until Sunday night and be counseled and learn how to be a counselor, because you were going to become the counselor at this treatment center for alcoholics. But you had to go through the process first. Well, one of the things that they did was show us movies, and there was a movie called Soft is the Heart of a Child. And I already had children by this time. And that movie was about a little girl whose mom and dad were alcoholics, and the dad went to the bar and the mom wanted to follow him, so she left the little girl at home, and then the little girl made up fantasies about how she was going to Disney World, and she told the counselor at school. And it was the saddest movie, and it was like somebody had sneaked in to my life and filmed me. But I didn't want the people that I was in there with to see me cry, because we don't cry. In my family, you're not supposed to cry or hug or say, I love you. Everybody just kind of hits you in the arm with their fist and says, how you doing? So anyways, don't be real here. So I cried out of one side of my eye. I was sitting on the aisle, and the left side of my face cried, and the right side of my face that was next to a guy did not cry. And that's how controlled I could hold my emotions in. I didn't want people to know how painful this was. But I was listening to all their stuff, and one of the assignments they had was go to an AA meeting and see what you think and write a paper on what you saw. Well, that was the only paper we were going to have to write. I did another one of my character defects, which is procrastination. And I put it off till the night before the paper was due. And so I had to get it done. I had to go to a meeting, and they gave me a little schedule book. And the only meeting was a women's meeting that was a discussion meeting. And so I went into that meeting, and I said, is this an AA meeting? They said, yeah, it's a discussion. Are you an alcoholic? And I said, well, and they said, well, do you have a problem with alcohol? And I said, well, yeah, kind of. I just wanted to get this thing done. So uh, they had me read how it works. And I started reading it. My vision was kind of blurred because I probably was on a after drunk. But anyway, it said, constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. And I burst into tears in front of everybody. And I said, that's me. I am an alcoholic. And then I finished reading how it works. And they hugged me and they loved me and they gave me a big book for free. And they said, keep coming back. And I thought, oh, these people are so nice. They care about me. And they gave me a book for free. And this book costs a lot of money. I see the price on the inside cover. I never read the book, but I carried it around like a rabbit's foot. I carried it, it was big and heavy, and I put it on the seat of my car, and I never read it. And but I went back every Thursday night to that meeting because I liked those girls and they liked me. And if I didn't go, they'd miss me, and gee whiz, I had to go show them that I was sober. And it was perfect because it was on a Thursday night. And then I could drink Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday and start cleaning up my act, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. But I could be sober by Thursday again. So I went to one meeting a week, and that was it. But I was also doing things other than gambling or drinking. I gambled a little bit, mainly my belief system was that if a man loved you, then you were probably okay. So husbands didn't seem to like me that much, so I looked elsewhere for attention. And so after a little while of going to AA but not being sober, I had a tryst planned with one of the guys, and this is how I used my friends. My girlfriend, I'd say, I want to meet with this guy. And so I'd say I was going shopping with her. I would give her a list of what to buy. She would go shopping. She would fill up the bag with what I needed. I would go meet with him. I would come back. She would meet me. I would go home and say, oh, shopping is such hard work. And then I would display all my wares that I bought. Well, one day, after hearing the AA people and seeing how happy they were, and I really wanted to be like them. And so when this guy was about to show up, I said, I don't want to be with him. I want to go to an AA meeting. And my friend said, are you kidding? And I said, no, will you take me to a meeting? I'm going to tell him. And so obviously he was not happy because aside from meeting together with him, what we did a lot was drink together to inspire us. so, so he didn't want to see me anymore if I was, and he told me, and a lot of people told me this AA thing is a cult. They've got you brainwashed. You better be careful. It's like one of those things where you're gonna drink the Kool-Aid and end up dead or something. I don't know what they really didn't like me getting sober. Nobody did. And so none of my drinking friends anyway. So but I decided to do the deal for real. And so I started going to AA, but the way I went to AA was I only went to speaker meetings where I could come late and leave early and maybe smoke a cigarette in the middle of all that meeting. I never did any service work. I didn't chair. I didn't read the readings. I didn't do anything. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't read the book. But I went to AA for a whole year like that and stayed sober. It's a miracle. And another thing I wanted was that coin. I wanted that coin because once I got that ear chip, I was well. I could, in fact, there was a lurking notion, they call it lurking notion. There's a lurking notion in my brain that once I got that coin, I could learn to drink responsibly, you know, and just keep it to one or two and just have a good time. But so a week after I got my coin, my year coin, I drank, and it had to do with a fight with a husband, which everything always was his fault, whoever he was. It was always their fault, not my fault. I'm the victim here. You're the one that caused me to drink. But anyway, I woke up the morning after I drank and saw myself in the mirror, and I looked like Kiss. I looked horrible. My makeup was down on my cheeks. I had thrown up in a pool, a hotel pool, and I'm sure that the Hilton didn't like that. And I don't remember how I got back to my hotel room. So uh, I at that point I had uh, reached that point where you can't live with it, and you can't live without it, and I didn't know if there was any way to go on. And then just a little voice inside my head said, go back to AA, go back. And so I did that very day. Um, my husband at the time said that I was a worthless drunk and that nobody wanted to be around me. If I came, nobody was going to come because I had thrown up in front of everybody, all over tables and people's dinners, and I and I knew he was right. I didn't take offense. I said, "You're right," and I'm going back to AA because that's where I belong. And from that day forward, I was willing to do whatever these people, and come to find out that I hadn't done hardly anything that they suggested. They gave me a toolbox, and I was like, nah, I don't need a screwdriver. I ain't going to use a hammer. I'll just throw that away, and so I got a sponsor. I knew I needed a sponsor, and yet I didn't ask the first person that I saw. I went to a speaker meeting, and there was a woman there that I thank God put in front of me, and she told her story, and she was a woman who in her story, she said, I was the drunk at the T-ball park, yelling at my son and embarrassing him. And I wore the same pink sweatsuit that I slept in on a Friday night. On Saturday morning, I was still drunk. And I knew her. I had a kid the same age as her son. I had seen her at the ballpark. We all had talked about what a mess she was. And here was this woman standing up there telling her story. She had her hair cut and styled. She was wearing a three-piece suit. She looked like $1,000,000. And I said, that cannot be the same woman. That cannot be that old ballpark drunk. But it was. So I just ran right up there and said, will you be my sponsor? And she said, are you willing to go to any lengths to stay sober? And I said, yeah, which I didn't know what that meant, but I found out from her what it meant because we went to a meeting at night and we went to treatment centers and we went and oh, thank God, she gave me such a foundation. The Joe and Charlie tapes. I don't think I could have worked the steps without listening to those Joe and Charlie tapes and seeing how the 12 steps fit together. But she made me write and do the steps, and it wasn't any short period of time either. I mean, we didn't do the steps in like a month. We were, and I was so afraid of that fourth step. I thought if I wrote down everything bad I had done, that I would go crazy and my brain would snap and I'd go off into some catatonic. Because I tried to kill myself when I was 21 years old because I was so ashamed of some of the stuff I'd done and landed in a mental hospital. And they kept me on Thorazine for 3 months. And I knew I'd never kill myself again because, I will never be on stuff that I can't even know my name. You cannot give me something and make me so trying to focus like who am I? Where am I? I knew I would never be like that again. But I wasn't in danger of killing myself. I don't think, but I don't know. I still, when I was married to my last husband, we had a deal that if one of us drank, that person would leave the premises for good and the other one would stay. And I said, if I drink, you don't have to worry about me staying alive too long because I'll just go jump off a bridge because I don't want to live like that anymore. And so I might, if I drink again, I still got a lot of yets, jails, institutions, and death, but I loved AA. I loved AA. I loved my sponsor. I probably idolized her more than you should. When I felt like drinking, I'd go to her house and she might not be there, but I'd sit in the parking lot and wait for her to get home and read the big book. And I followed her around like a duck. And she tricked me into giving people rides and calling people. And that's how I got a circle of friends. And everybody loved her. And we started doing stuff not in the rooms, but outside the rooms. Running buddies. We became running buddies. And we'd go on road trips to meetings in West Virginia and Pennsylvania. And we'd all just take road trips if there was a roundup or a convention or And then she said, you got to be of service to AA. You got to take a position, So I was a GSR for a minute, but the first thing I did for service was go early and make the coffee, and I didn't know how to make coffee in a big urn for like 40 cups. And so I got there, I had the key to the building and I let myself in and it's this great big unopened can of Maxwell House coffee and there's no can opener. And I find out that the can opener is up on the wall. And so I can't reach and get the thing. I'm not strong enough to push down the lever to make it go through the lid of the new coffee. And so I get up on the counter, I climb up on the sink, and I start hitting this handle with my foot. And she comes into the building, and I'm balancing on this sink, hitting this handle with my, foot. And she goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to get the coffee open so I can make the And then when I'd make coffee, people would say, "Oh my God, this is terrible. It tastes like mud. How much coffee did you put in here?" So if there was a joke like, if Linda makes the coffee, bring your own water bottle or something. So, but anyway, that's how I started my hopefully final journey in AA, and that was July 9th, 1990. It was after a week long um, 4th of July drunk. Teachers were lucky because we got the summers off. So starting in May, you had a whole 3 months to drink as much as you want and then clear up and hopefully be well by September. But it never worked. I had teachers helping me. There was one teacher that was like, I also have drugs in my story, and not very much. Because if you displayed something out on a coffee table and said, "Take your choice," there could be like a pile of cocaine or joints but if there was a vodka bottle, I'd grab the vodka bottle for sure. But I did a little bit of cocaine here and there, and uh, it came in little glass vials. And one of those rolled out of my pocket one day on the counter of the office in the school office. I was getting something out of my pocket, and it just fell right out there in front of the secretary and the principal, and my girlfriend, who was with me at the time, covered it with the palm of her hand so quick you would have thought she was in a Family Feud pushing the button or something. And she palmed that thing and said, "Linda," you know. And then I was so bad off from a night before that she said, "I'm going to tell him that you got the flu and you need to go home." So I had people like that uh, covering my back all through my drinking, which maybe it was good that I didn't lose the job, and maybe it wasn't. So
We never know, do we, Linda? We never
nope,
know.
no,
Yeah, it's one of the things you said reminded me of Mike, and Mike K and Linda K always opened their house to me, people. So I have to tell you that. And Mike K sponsored me for a while as
mhm.
well, and one of my favorite people of all time. So I have to say that. But you said something about that AA was a cult and that it was you were going to be brainwashed. I always remember Mike would be like, "Well, if you drank as much as I do, you'd need your brain washed too."
Yeah, that's right.
But
I
so
go
what
ahead.
what um what brought you to Tennessee? When did that, and talk about maybe how many, the people you sponsor so many people, and the service that you did, and you opened your house like your sponsor opened her house to you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I was going to AA up here, and um, I was too afraid. I had divorced my well, actually, my third husband, the jock. He ran off with his secretary, and they quit their jobs, and he went to Florida and left me. Uh, Said he didn't love me anymore, and he he said, "I'm leaving you." And I said, "When?" And he goes, "Today." And he was just gone with this girl. They pulled up in the driveway with a U-Haul, and he left his son, which my son, went into a terrible depression, and then he started getting in trouble, But anyway, he was gone, and so my sponsor, who I don't think liked my husband. I mean, I was afraid of bringing people around the house because I didn't want them to see how much we fought and how what dysfunction was in my home. And she would come right in there after I told her, no, no, don't come over. And she'd see him drunk and she'd say, we don't have to live like that anymore. Isn't that wonderful? And I thought, oh God, he's gonna hit her, And she wasn't afraid of him. So she suggested I take a break from men. No more men. Let's just let's concentrate on the program and helping others and stuff. So I spent a couple years really enjoying my single sobriety, and then and I knew she didn't want me dating anybody because I had a bad track record, and so I go to this meeting and there's this guy there, and well, first I went to a meeting that had free pancakes, a Sunday morning pancake thing, and it's way across town. I usually don't go there, but they had a free dinner going on, and that's another one of my current addictions is food. So anyway, I go to that, and there's this man there that sat at my table, and I guess I talked a whole lot and scared him actually, but he had a daughter that was born on a certain day in a certain year, and I had a son that was born on that same day, same year. He was a single dad having trouble with his daughter. I was a single mom having trouble with my son. And so we shared our problems with each other. And then there was a meeting way on the other side of town, and I had always gone to that one. It was called the Out of Towners meeting, and they had people come tell their stories from Cleveland and Cincinnati and Wheeling, West Virginia, all over the place. And so I walked in this meeting, and here he is, and here he's there. And he goes, and his sponsor was there, and so he tells his sponsor, "It's that woman, she's following me." And he said, "Are you stalking me?" And I thought, who is this idiot? God. And then later on, he ended up showing up at my meetings, and so he finally asked me out, and I was afraid to tell my sponsor, but I went over to his house to watch a movie on a Friday night. He said, "Come over after the meeting and we'll watch a movie." And so the whole time I was there, he talked on the phone with some sponsee, and I had to watch the movie all by myself. And I had gotten a babysitter and everything. It was so rude. And then when the movie was over, I had to go home because I only had a couple hours away from the babysitter. So that was Mike, and we started seeing each other, and I was afraid to tell my sponsor. And my sponsor said, "I hear you've been seeing Mike K." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Good choice. He's good AA, and I think he'll be good for you." And I was like shocked. I was amazed. You're kidding. I'm allowed to date now. But yeah, and so we dated just a little bit, and then suddenly his sister lives in Tennessee, and his mom, who was aging, moved in with the sister, and the sister said, "Mike, you're going to come to Tennessee and help me with mom." Mike moved to Tennessee, and before he left, he kind of asked me to be his permanent girl. And then the first Christmas, he came up and had a ring and proposed to me. So I still had a year left to teach and finish getting my son out of high school. So we were apart for a whole year, and there was no cell phones back then either. So we had to wait till after 9 o'clock at night and talk quickly so we could afford. So we did a lot of writing of letters, and I've still got his letters that he wrote. And I think that's one of the things that's wow. I wish that everybody could do that nowadays. Send letters and we really bared our souls to each other and learned a lot about each other. And he would come and visit on holidays, or I would go down there and visit on holiday. So finally, we got married, and he had been going to AA down there. So I have to learn how to navigate a new AA meeting. And I didn't like it. I liked my meetings up here, and I had a resentment against the meetings down there. It wasn't Ohio big book thumping strict AA. But he was trying to make it that, and he did a darn good job of it. He started a big book meeting and a 12 and 12 meeting, and sponsored a lot of guys. And so I started sponsoring women. I don't know exactly how that happened uh, because I didn't know anybody. But I think the very first week that I came there was a girl that attached onto me and said, I need somebody to go in and clean out the alcohol out of my house because I'm scared if I go back in my house, I'll drink again. And I said, where do you live? And she said, Lenore City. And I had never heard of Lenore City. You know, where is this place? So I went to some stranger's house and cleared her house out of bottles and became her sponsor. And then she had a friend, and I became her sponsor. And then it just, I ended up meeting the women who today are my dearest friends in the world. And I come back here after Mike died years later, at 20 years later, and some of the people that I knew when I first started AA here are still sitting in the same chairs. They're still hanging together. But it's still tough because my friends that I love dearly are all from Tennessee. Now, my sponsor, she's still up here, the original sponsor. But the only thing good is that the Tennessee people like to travel. So last weekend, I had one girl come for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then another couple of people came Sunday. And so I'm glad that they like to travel. So I get to see them all. And I love AA. AA is more than just recovery from alcohol. It's a lifestyle. Um, it's a gift from God that I just I don't know how I was so blessed to get this gift. So
Well, you have been a gift to many, including myself.
uh,
Um, and I was one of the people that, um, I would, when I got squirrely, and even when I didn't, I knew where I could go, and it was your house. And I get emotional thinking about that. Like you and Mike always gave me a place to go, and a place that was safe, and a place that I could, um, grow up sober.
yeah,
You know, um, and so you just have a special place in my heart, and I'm so grateful for you. I really am. And
Well, I'll say one more thing, and that's that during my years of sobriety, 35 years, uh, bad things have happened to me, painful things, things that I never thought I'd be able to um, come through. My mom and dad died, which I that was one of my biggest fears. But then Mike died, my husband, and you know, actually the other three men that I've married, they're all dead too. But I'm not a I'm not a black widow spider. Please don't give me that name. But uh, uh, two out of the four of them died directly as a result of cirrhosis and liver problems, and a result of their drinking and drugging. And so uh, Mike, when he died, shortly after that, the granddaughter who I was raising, his biological granddaughter, committed suicide, and she died. Now, if you would ask me, how did you come through such a horrible experience, I would just say friends. And you were one of those friends. Your wife and your daughter were friends that helped me. All the people in AA were just amazing. They were there when it happened. They were there when my husband died. They were there when my granddaughter died. They stayed with me. They moved in and slept with me. The girls were wonderful. They, I just, and they still, to this day, honor his memory and and her memory, and it's so meaningful to me to have friends like that that were there sharing the worst moment of your life. And this is something that, if I had been drinking still, uh, you wouldn't have been able to find me to tell me that a family member was dead. I would have been off somewhere, uh, incognito in some bar somewhere. And the fact that I was there when my mother died. I was of use. I did things that I didn't know I had the strength. I was there when Mike died. I was there when Ariana died. And I came through that, and I would have told you that I'm not that strong of a person. So it had to be God and you guys, because of myself, I am nothing. So,
well, you are pretty amazing, resilient, um, wonderful example of what sobriety is. And thank you for that.
thank you,
Um,
Joe.
and thank you for sharing your story. But I can't let you go, Linda Kay, without
Okay.
doing our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Um, so are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. All right. Uh, what is your favorite recovery slogan?
Well, I would have to say hope is found here, because that's the first thing I saw, and I thought, is it possible? Could there really be hope from this seemingly hopeless disease? And so I would have to say that ought to be in every AA meeting up front on the podium. So
What is your least favorite recovery slogan?
Hmm. Uh, uh, well, I know all the ones that Mike used to say. Oh, it's all about you. Oh, you want some cheese with that wine? Oh, oh, you're well now, aren't you? How'd that work out for you? There's so many phrases like that, but I think uh, live and let live has been hard this year for me.
Fair enough. What do you think is your sobriety superpower?
Oh, definitely gratitude. Uh, I I can't express how grateful I am, and sense of humor. A sense of humor goes a long way. It's you got to have a sense of humor. That's why I like you, Joe. You got a
Uh,
sense of humor.
hey, we are in the mutual admiration club, my friend,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
I love your sense of humor and always you just always you bring out the laugh in me. Uh, if you could say one thing to your former self, what would it be?
um, I would have to say, well, I don't know if I'd believe it or not. Would I believe it? Would I have the capability of being believe it? I would say, God loves you.
What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
Hmm. Life in the fast lane. No, no, just kidding. Not Life in the fast lane. Although it has a really good beat to drive to. I drive really fast when I play that song. But there's a song that my friend Nancy in the program knows this song because I make everybody listen to it. It's by C.C. Winans, and it's called "I Surrender All." It's a gospel song about surrendering, and that's pretty much what we have to live. Um,
If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
um, stay humble.
What step do you love the most?
Definitely the third step because I think it's the foundation of the whole program. When you get down on your knees and offer yourself to God, that prayer is probably the greatest prayer I've ever heard. You're asking to be relieved of your bondage of self, and you're asking that anything you do from here on, uh, help you help other people, but let all the credit go back to God. That victory over it will bear witness to His power. So I just think that prayer's got everything you need right in that prayer.
What step do you love the least?
6. Uh, uh, I I'm not always willing to let go of my character defects. I want to I want to make excuses for them. For example, say like I might have a eating problem, and say like I I know that the surrendering and doing what the people tell me to do, using my suggestions would probably do me well, but I'm still full of all kinds of excuses of why I deserve. And then I also procrastinate. They'll give me some medical stuff to read about different ones of my conditions. And I'll say, Nah, I don't want to read that now. That'll bring me down. I'll read that tomorrow. So procrastination, I still haven't. I haven't found a way to. I'm still a, what was it they call, oh, passive aggressive. I'm passive aggressive. If I don't want to do something, I ain't going to do it, and I'm going to wait till the last minute, and then I'm going to be late, and then it's all it's all still trying to have some kind of control over stuff that's out of my control. So, number 6.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What is one of your favorite movies?
Oh, I'm a romantic. I've never liked horror stories. Everybody I know likes scary movies or stuff, but give me a good old fashioned rom-com or something. And my favorite movie that I think I've watched more than any other movie is Officer and a Gentleman, because he does the right thing. He's honorable all the way through. And then at the end, he scoops her up off of her feet. He just grabs her and carries her like a bride. And everybody in the whole factory is going, "Way to go, Paula! Way to go!" So,
All
yeah,
right.
I like that movie.
Good movie. The good movie.
Yeah.
And finally, Linda, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, I know what he's going to say. He's going to say the same thing that it says on Dr. Bob's house. When you go to Founder's Day, you see a big banner across the front porch of Dr. Bob's house, and it says, "Welcome home." That's
I
what
love
he's
that.
going to say.
I love it.
So
Linda Kay, I love you.
I
And
love you too, JoJo.
And I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story.
Well,
today.
thank you, and I appreciate you doing this, because I've been listening to podcasts. It's
I love it.
got 50 left to go, but I'm doing it. So
That's okay. That's okay. And for the rest of you out there, please subscribe to our friends at thedailyponderables.com, your recovery source for inspiration and encouragement every day. A new episode of The Cup of Joe Show is released every Thursday at noon. Visit thecupofjoeshow.net, or you can listen to the show on your favorite podcast apps: Podbean, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the "the." Please like, follow, subscribe, and share, because someone out there needs to hear this today. Have a good day, everybody.
It's just a laid-back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's Experience, Strength, and Hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to The Cup of Joe Show.